Finally, Amber Cox is doing some sort of work around here. Finally, I don't know if somebody had to knock on the office window. I don't know what happened, but something happened, and she finally woke up and started getting a little bit of damn work done. Shout out to Roberta, who had this on X. Monique Billings took a meeting with the New York Liberty, but should sign with the Indiana Fever, I'm being told. Hashtag.
Finally, after weeks of silence while other teams locked up their rosters, Amber Cox just made the move that Fever fans have been screaming for since October. Monique Billings is heading to Indiana, and if you watched Team USA's pre-Olympic training camp in July 2024, you already know exactly why this matters. The pick-and-roll chemistry with Caitlin Clark was immediate. The finishing through contact was effortless. And most importantly, Billings understood something that certain Fever forwards never figured out last season. Your job is to complement the MVP candidate, not compete with her for touches.
See, this is big news. Shout out to Roberta. Listen, I don't know what you did, what you had to say about Caitlin Clark in the past. All I know is you've been coming with some heat during this free agency. You've been outdoing a lot of the people we normally go to. Hey, it is what it is. Shout out to Roberta on this one, man. Monique Billings appears to be signing with the Indiana Fever, and we could already see the chemistry she had with Caitlin Clark at Team USA. Okay, she understood her role. She knew how to finish out of the pick and roll. All of that good stuff that we was looking for from our starting power forward last season.
That screen right there, that's what Indiana's front court was missing for 6 months. A physical, legitimate screen that actually creates separation instead of those half-hearted picks that got Caitlin hammered going around them. Billings averaged 6.8 points and 5.2 rebounds for the Phoenix Mercury last season, but those numbers don't tell the real story. She shot 52.4% from the field because she knows her role. Finish what the point guard creates. No contested mid-range jumpers. No bringing the ball up the court like she's Magic Johnson. Just old-school pick-and-roll basketball that's been winning games since the 1950s, and that left-handed finish through contact for the and one. Caitlin threw that exact same bounce pass to Aaliyah Boston 43 times last season. Boston converted it 21 times. Billings would have converted 30 of them, because she doesn't try to finesse everything. She understands that sometimes you just dunk the basketball.
I think this is going to be beautiful, y'all. This is going to be beautiful, but there's still much more work to do. I still want to sign another big. We need to sign another big, okay? Let's take a look at this right here, man. Monique Billings, Caitlin Clark in the pick and roll. I can see it already. Look at that. Good screen. That's a good physical screen. Great bounce pass from the GOAT. And the finish. Left hand through contact and one for Monique Billings. We're going to be getting a lot of that. Look at it. We're going to be getting a lot of this two-man action this year. We're going to be getting a lot of that, and I cannot wait. Monique Billings can step out away from the basket and hit the mid-range jump shot. She can, she can step out. I like that.
Here's what makes this signing particularly smart. Billings can step out to 15 feet and hit the mid-range jumper when defenses go under the screen. That's the counterpunch that keeps defenses honest. Last season, when teams realized Natasha Howard couldn't consistently knock down that elbow jumper despite taking 4.2 attempts per game at 38.1%, they just went under every screen and dared her to shoot. It clogged the lane, it disrupted the spacing, and it made Caitlin's life exponentially harder. Billings shot 44.7% from mid-range last season on 2.1 attempts per game. Lower volume, higher efficiency. That's a veteran who understands shot selection. She's not hunting her own offense. She's taking what the defense gives her within the flow of what Caitlin creates.
And like I said, we need more girth down low. Aaliyah Boston and Dance is not enough. That's not enough. Okay, Atlanta, they got Angel Reese, Bree Jones, Naz Hillman. They got some bangers down there, okay? We needed to add more girth, and I think this definitely helps with that. It's a lot going on, man. We got so much stuff to get to, man. Let's take a look at this here as it appears. Ty Harris. Now, mind you, I've said from the door, I want nothing to do with Stephanie White and friends. Now, this is another one of,
But the Billings signing is only half the story. According to multiple reports from Fieldhouse Files on December 18th, Ty Harris is finalizing a deal to become Caitlyn's backup point guard. And this is where we need to talk about the Stephanie White reunion tour, because Harris played under White with the Connecticut Sun in 2023 and 2024. Now, I've been vocal about not wanting a roster full of Stephanie White's former players. We saw how that experiment worked with the Connecticut Sun's coaching tree last season. Natasha Howard thinking she's a primary option, the bizarre rotations, the refusal to just let Caitlyn cook for 40 minutes. But here's the thing about Ty Harris, she actually knows what a backup point guard is supposed to do. Harris averaged 5.3 points and 2.1 assists in 17.2 minutes per game for Connecticut last season. She's not trying to reinvent the offense when she checks in. She's not hunting her own shot. She runs the pick and roll, she makes the simple pass, and she plays solid on-ball defense. That's exactly what you need for those 8 to 12 minutes when Caitlyn sits.
I don't like that because I don't trust the Stephanie White and Friends movement. We saw how bad that turned out last season with DeWanna Bonner scamming the team and Natasha Howard wanting to be MVP, bringing the ball up the court, not giving it to the point guard, all types of stuff. I don't want to do Stephanie White and Friends at all. But one thing I do know is Ty Harris is a solid backup point guard, solid backup player. I think she was starting at times for the Connecticut Sun. She can play this game. I think she's good enough to come in and, spell Caitlin Clark 8 to 10 minutes.
Compare that to what Indiana dealt with last season. Erica Wheeler missed significant time with injuries and never played a full season healthy in her entire WNBA career. Odyssey Sims was supposed to be the veteran steadying presence, but she shot 35.2% from the field and turned the ball over more than she created assists in limited action. And the less said about the Sydney Colson experiment, the better. That signing lasted exactly 41 days before the fever cut her in May 2024 without her playing a single regular season game. Ty Harris isn't going to win you games, but she's not going to lose them either. And for a backup point guard playing 12 minutes behind the Rookie of the Year, who averaged 35.4 minutes per game, that's all you need. Keep the ship steady, don't turn the ball over. Get it to Kelsey Mitchell for a 3 or Aaliyah Boston for a post touch. Then get out of the way when Caitlyn checks back in.
They are vital pieces to this team. We want Tres Leches all the way back in full effect. Now, in other news around the league, Jordan Canada ain't the 2-year deal with the Atlanta Dream. I'm trying to figure out where the hell is Atlanta getting all this money from? Are y'all sponsored by the Migos? What's going on? How is Atlanta Dream signing all these people for all this money? Is Ryan Howard about to be playing on a minimum? Where's the money at? Well, bro, where's all this bread coming from? Y'all done gave Alicia Gray a 3-year max. Y'all brought over Angel Reese. Y'all paid Bree Jones. Y'all paid Naz Hillman. Y'all paying Jordan Canada.
Now let's talk about what's happening around the rest of the league, because Atlanta's spending spree is raising some serious questions. Jordan Canada just signed a 2-year deal with the Dream. That comes after they gave Alicia Gray a 3-year max contract worth $690,000 in total salary. They traded for Angel Reese and her $74,000 rookie contract. They re-signed Naz Hillman and Bree Jones, and somehow they still need to figure out what to pay Ryan Howard, who's eligible for a supermax extension. Where is this money coming from? The WNBA salary cap for 2025 is $1,463,750 per team. Atlanta has already committed roughly $850,000 to their core pieces based on reported contract structures. That leaves about $600,000 for the remaining 7 roster spots, including paying Ryan Howard, who could command $250,000 annually on a supermax deal. The math isn't mathing unless somebody's taking a significant discount or the Dream are planning to move additional pieces.
Gonna be left for Ryan Howard. I'm interested to see what's about to happen with that, because I'm confused on where's the money at. Like, this is kind of crazy, okay? Jordan Canada, definitely a good point guard, really good defender, can keep the ship steady for the Atlanta Dream at the point guard spot. She will be back in the fold. Brittany Griner is headed to the Connecticut Sun. This is big news around the league. It was going to be very interesting to see what was left for Brittany Griner
Jordan Canada is a solid pickup for Atlanta, though. She averaged 7.1 points and 4.2 assists for the Los Angeles Sparks last season, while shooting 39.8% from the field and 34.2% from three. More importantly, she's one of the best on-ball defenders at the point guard position in the entire league. She made the all-defensive second team in 2023. That's the kind of two-way presence that can stabilize a backcourt, especially playing alongside Ryan Howard, who's more of a score-first guard. And then there's Brittany Griner heading to the Connecticut Sun after spending the back half of last season coming off the bench for the Phoenix Mercury. That's a significant shift for someone who was a six-time All-Star and two-time Olympic gold medalist. Griner averaged 17.8 points, 6.6 rebounds, and 1.5 blocks in 24.8 minutes per game last season, but her role diminished dramatically in the playoffs when Phoenix needed more perimeter shooting and versatility. Connecticut is betting that a change of scenery and a defined role can revitalize her. The Sun lost Brianna Jones to free agency, so there's a clear need for interior presence. But Griner is 34 years old now, and the league has shifted toward pace and space systems that don't always favor traditional post players. We'll see if Stephanie White's system can maximize what she has left in the tank.
Obviously, the Las Vegas Aces, they're reloaded. They're bringing everybody back. Chelsea Gray's back. Jewel Lloyd is back on a 3-year deal. Jackie Young is back on a 1-year deal. Asia Wilson is back. They're bringing their core back, and they're going to try to run this whole thing back and win another title. But this right here is the major news. Monique Billings headed to the Indiana Fever, apparently. We had to get into this. I'm excited for this. This is great news for Caitlin Clark. Get down in the comments. Let me know what you guys think. This is Keep the Vision. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe.
Meanwhile, the Las Vegas Aces are running it back. Chelsea Gray re-signed on a multi-year deal. Tiffany Hayes returned on a 3-year contract. Jackie Young took a 1-year deal to run it back with Aja Wilson and Kelsey Plum. They're betting that continuity and championship experience can overcome the fact that they looked vulnerable in the 2024 playoffs for the first time in 3 years. The Aces went 27-13 in the regular season, but got pushed to the brink by the Seattle Storm in the semifinals before losing to the New York Liberty in the finals. Aja Wilson won her 3rd MVP award, but the supporting cast showed signs of wear. Gray missed time with a lower leg injury. Hayes is 35 years old. Young had an inconsistent shooting season at 37.8% from 3 after shooting 42.4% the year before. But here's the thing about championship cores. They know how to flip the switch in May and June. The Aces have been to 4 straight finals and won 2 titles. That institutional knowledge matters. They know how to manage the regular season grind and peak when it counts. And as long as Aja Wilson is playing at an MVP level, they're going to be in the conversation. But let's bring this back to Indiana, because the Monique Billings and Ty Harris signings represent something bigger than just adding 2 rotation players. They represent a philosophy shift. Amber Cox is finally building a roster designed specifically to maximize Caitlin Clark, instead of trying to balance egos and appease veterans who think they deserve touches they haven't earned. Billings played with Caitlin at Team USA training camp in July 2024. They built chemistry over 2 weeks of intense practices and scrimmages. Billings saw firsthand how Caitlin operates, how she reads defenses, where she likes to deliver passes in the pick and roll. That's not something you can replicate in training camp with a new player. They're already speaking the same basketball language, and that matters because last season was plagued by miscommunication and missed connections. Caitlin would throw a pocket pass expecting her screener to roll hard to the rim, and instead they'd pop out to the three-point line. She'd hit someone with a perfect bounce pass in traffic, and they'd bobble it because they weren't expecting the ball. Those are chemistry issues that cost Indiana probably 8 to 10 wins over the course of the season. Ty Harris brings a different kind of value. She's not going to run the offense better than Caitlin. Nobody in the league can do what Caitlin does. But Harris understands pace and spacing. She played in Stephanie White's system in Connecticut, so she already knows the terminology, the sets, the defensive schemes. That eliminates the learning curve. She can step in on day 1 of training camp and function within the system without needing 3 weeks to figure out what's happening. That's crucial because Caitlin played 35.4 minutes per game as a rookie. That's unsustainable over a full career. At some point, probably around the 2026 or 2027 season, her minutes are going to need to come down to 32 or 33 per game to preserve her body for a 15-year career. Having a backup point guard who can competently run the offense for those extra 8 to 10 minutes without the wheels falling off is essential for long-term success. Now, there's still work to do. Indiana needs to bring back Lexi Hull, who shot 43.8% from 3 last season and provided critical floor spacing. They need to re-sign Damiris Dantas, who gave them veteran leadership and could stretch the floor from the 5 position. And they desperately need to add another wing defender who can take some of the toughest defensive assignments off Caitlin's plate. But most importantly, they need to not bring back Natasha Howard. That's the move that will define this offseason. Howard shot 42.1% from the field last season while taking 10.2 shots per game. She had a 14.8% usage rate, which means she was using nearly 15% of Indiana's possessions when she was on the floor, and she was converting those possessions at a below-average efficiency rate. Worse than the numbers was the mentality. There were multiple games where Howard brought the ball up the court instead of giving it to Caitlin. There were possessions where she waved Caitlin off and called her own number in isolation. There were defensive breakdowns where she gambled for steals instead of staying in her assignment. That's not winning basketball, and it's definitely not the kind of veteran leadership a young team needs. Monique Billings is the anti-Natasha Howard. She's not worried about her points per game or her all-star candidacy. She's 30 years old, she's played 8 seasons in the league, and she knows exactly what she is. A high-energy role player who finishes what the star creates. That self-awareness is invaluable. You can't teach that. Either a player understands their role or they spend their entire career fighting against it and creating friction. The Fever went 2020 last season and made the playoffs for the first time since 2016. Caitlin Clark won Rookie of the Year, Aaliyah Boston made the All-Star team. Kelsey Mitchell had a career year shooting 40.2% from 3. The foundation is there, but to take the next step and become a legitimate title contender, Indiana needs to surround their core with players who understand the hierarchy and embrace their roles. That's what these signings represent. Billings and Harris aren't coming to Indiana to build their own brands or chase individual accolades. They're coming to win games and help Caitlin Clark become an MVP. And if the Fever can add one more defensive-minded wing and bring back their key role players, they're going to be a problem in 2025. So here's the question for you. Is Monique Billings the perfect frontcourt partner for Caitlin Clark? Or does Indiana still need to add another big to match up with teams like Atlanta and Las Vegas? And more importantly, if Amber Cox brings back Natasha Howard after all this, are you done with this front office? Because I might be. Let me know in the comments what you think the Fever should do next, hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you in the next one.